Hello friend, welcome back to Adventures in One Love. This video is one of many that we're doing with Leanne Goff. Lydia had a chance to sit down with her and speak for over an hour. This is a continuation from last week's, but we're talking about how she no longer sees herself as an orphan, but as a daughter of God, and see how that process can help you. If you enjoy this, make sure you come back because there'll be more videos with Leanne. Here we go.
How did you transition from I don't need an earthly representation, I'm good, I got you, because I can totally relate to that. How did that transition take place? Because I understand Leif is a spiritual father to many. So, I'm sure he was already very graceful in that, but how did that look for you?
Well, yeah, it was really hard. So Leif was looking for someone to be his executive admin and personal assistant. And I had my own ministry in Iowa at the time, Ministry in Action, but we had a segment of Missionaries in Action that we still actually have on the Leanne Goff Ministries now. And so I was up there and he needed some help. So my husband and I left our ministry in Iowa and moved down to Florence, Alabama. And we gave a 1-year commitment to help him kind of get things, and God spoke to me and said, where I want to bring this man, his foundation for his ministry is not broad enough and deep enough. And so you're going to go down and help him do that because he's amazing guy, incredible leader, but when it comes to administration, And so we packed up everything, went down there for a year, and that's what I did. I made a year commitment. My ministry and my board kept running everything up in Iowa, and we were still going to nations, And so about, I would say 8 months into working for him, I had the opportunity to go to Pakistan with him the first time. And so, which I was super excited about, because I love the nations. And so we took off in September of 2008. We go to Pakistan. Incredible. That's a whole nother, I'd been to probably about 28 nations up until that time. And then I go with him, and I thought I was ready, but I was not ready for that experience. And I have just fallen in love with the Muslim culture. So, with the Muslim culture in itself and not their beliefs, but with that culture. And so anyway, we finished up our week in Pakistan, and we were coming back through Dubai for a couple of days, just for some R&R because it's very intense on those trips. And we got to regroup before we head back to the States, and we get back to emails and texts and family and all this other stuff. So it was during Ramadan, and so our team was staying in this particular hotel, and we had gone down for breakfast that morning. And so Leif and I are sitting at a table. The restaurant's packed with people, and because the tourists cannot go into restaurants, they're closed, so they go into the tourist hotels. And that's where they're going to eat because that's the only place they can get meals. And so Leif and I are sitting there. I'm sitting across the table. We've gotten our food. And he said, so where do you see? And I only have 4 months left, 3 to 4 months left of our commitment. My husband, my commitment to working with him. So where do you feel like you're at in the GMA family? I'm like, I don't understand your question. And he says, well, in the GMA family. And I'd heard his spiritual son and daughter from the Philippines, Paul and Almira Yadao, they call him Daddy Leif and this and that. And some other people, I'm like, that's weird calling Daddy Leif, And I'm 10 years older than Leif, okay? So he says, where are you? I said, well, I'm your personal assistant. I don't understand your question. Well, where do you stand? He says, well, I want to father you. And I'm like, whoa. I said, well, I ain't ready to call you Daddy Leif. He said, that's okay. And then there was something that began to well up in my heart. He was touching areas of my heart that had never been touched by a father on this earth. And I picked up my purse. This place is packed. Tears are running down my eyes. I picked up my purse. Can we go talk somewhere more private? He goes, no, we'll talk here. I said, okay, all right, we'll talk right here, And so we left that trip, and I went home for the next 6 months. That was another deeper level of being able to trust a human being. I trusted my husband with my heart, 100%, but to trust someone else with my heart, of course, my 2 children I did, somebody else with my heart was one of the scariest things that ever happened in my life. And so it wasn't scary to go to Pakistan. It wasn't scary to go to Cuba and these Venezuelans places, but giving my heart to a human being, another human being, I'm like, oh, that was like a father. I'm like, I don't know. And so that day at that breakfast table, it's like he took a key and he put it in the chamber of my heart that was put there. I believe we have chambers in our hearts, and one's for our spouse, our kids, our grandkids, people that are really close to us, our mother, our father, etc. Big one is mainly for God. But and that chamber in my heart had never been touched by a biological father. It had been closed all these years. And he opened that chamber that day, and he went in there and started rumbling around the cobwebs and the dust over the years. And it was painful. There was another level of God saying, okay, we're going to go deeper because a free woman sets people free. And I'm doing testing in you because what I have for you to come, you can't fulfill where you're at right now. And so the next 6 months, look, I don't get drunk. That was pre-Jesus. But anyway, but I wanted to get a 6-pack of beer and just go get drunk. I wanted to bury myself in the backyard in a hole. I wanted to run. Because God, come home from the office and I would cook dinner for my husband and I would go get in my jacuzzi, tub and put worship music on and candles. And I'd just go, God, why do I need this man? I've got you. You don't need a man. You're my dad, And he was like, you need him. And I'm like, oh. So fast forward 6 months and I'm actually at an event and I'm still wrestling with all of this, and I am like on my face on the floor again. Not by Holy Spirit putting me down. It's just it's about 12 pastors, and we're in this area, and I'm just waiting on God. And God, it's like one of those big beams of light, like at a carnival or a car lot or something like that. That's happening, and it goes over me, and I'm like, and it's like God spoke to me, and He said, "You need Leif in your life," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I need this man in my life." I don't know. I can't even tell you. It's just I'm hard-head, God's got to do radical things to me to get my attention most of the time. And that's true. I'm just thinking about going like He does. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I need Leif. I have to have Leif. And so as soon as I got out of the session, I called him and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can call you Daddy Leif now. I mean, it was just like, hit just like that. It just happened. So, all these years later, it's 16 years now. And I tell you what, I would not be where I'm at if it wasn't for God putting, obviously what happened to me in Toronto in 2003, but if it wouldn't have been for Leif being in my life as a spiritual father. And I can say this too, Lydia, that if God would have put Leif in my life before I had the revelation that I was a beloved daughter, oh my gosh, it would have been, hell. It would have been hard, because I would have put demands and expectations on this man that he could never fulfill. And that's why I really encourage people, people are running around looking for a spiritual father or a spiritual mother. And I'm like, you know what? Just really get the revelation that God's your dad. Start right there. That's the best thing you can do. And that's why even this book right here, I wrote it, A Journey to Your Identity, 30-day devotional of like really beginning to establish your identity as a beloved son, a beloved daughter, and then let God, Ray and I have spiritual sons and daughters that way before I met Leif, but we didn't have the language. We just, my assistant Sonia, she's been 23 years, several years before I met Leif. Once the family dynamic began to unfold, with Leif. Leif is the one 3 years after my experience in Toronto, and I met him, he goes, and I told him about it, he goes, oh, you had a baptism of love. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's what happened. So we have a baptism of water, we have a baptism of repentance, we baptize the Holy Spirit, some people have the baptism of fire, we have the baptism of death, so there's several baptisms, but then there's that baptism of love that I feel really transforms us to the point where now heaven's coming to us, we're not just trying to get to heaven. And so even our spiritual sons and daughters, that we have many of them, like Sonia, and you've met Sonia. So, after all this took place with Leif, we're like, oh my gosh, we've been doing family the whole time. We just didn't have the language. The heart was already there. So lean in the heart. Don't go up here. This is where this is what has messed me up all my life. But when I let my heart go with it, it's like, oh, okay, I see that now.
That's, wow. This is a season that I've been in. I just found my biological father a year ago. It was a long journey, a lot of rejection, a lot of heartache, and a lot of kind of arguing with the Lord, like, I don't even want to know anymore. Like, I got to that place where I don't even want to know. I just don't want to feel this. And that the fear of rejection kind of kept bubbling back up. And I think that's something that is, I feel like the Lord is allowing me to feel it so tangibly, so literally, because as we're called to minister to others, we are dealing with a culture of orphans. There's so many of us. There's a part of me, you have your own pity party, like, why me? Why is everything so negative? But then the Lord opened my eyes, like, no, you need to understand because it's happening all around you. And you need to speak their language. They need to understand that they're not alone in this. So for those that are walking around like orphans, because honestly, I have been reading the devotional and it's very powerful. You really take the orphan mentality, and then you compare it to the son-daughter mentality. And seeing those comparisons on paper, because like you, I am a thinker, and I'm a deep thinker, almost to my own detriment. To see it like that, you're like, yeah, why am I seeing it like that when I could see it like this, like a daughter? So what is a word that you have for those orphans that are out there? I mean, I appreciate that you say start with the Lord, but I don't know I don't even know the right frame to say it. I know it's so important, but what would you say to those orphans out there?
That's good. And, Lydia, we have approximately 400,000 orphanages in America we call churches. And we have a lot of orphans pastoring orphans. And then we wonder why people don't want what we have. Nobody likes to go to an orphanage unless they're going to visit, okay? They don't like to stay there. Orphans will run as far from an orphanage as they can. And so that's one reason I feel like the church isn't really accomplishing its assignment to bring heaven to earth. Yeah, we've tried to get people to heaven, but what about getting heaven to earth? On earth as it is in heaven, let's bring heaven to earth. And so, that's one of the things I have an assignment is like, okay, how do I feel. Let me just say this. Leif, has said this over the many years. He said, where you've been bit the hardest, you have the greatest authority. My personal assistant, Sonia, been with us 23 years. About 8 or 9 years ago, she had MS. She had 14 lesions on her brain and her spine. She was crippled with MS, and God just supernaturally touched her and healed her. So she has authority over crippling diseases. So if I'm in a conference and I'm ministering or whatever, and I've got a word that there's people that have crippling diseases, or it's just I come across somebody, I'm like, Sonia, come over here and release the power of the testimony from Revelation, okay? Well, in my situation, I believe I have authority over people who are fatherless. Motherless too. Like when I work for Teen Challenge, and the second book here, Christian Life Without Father God, it was actually my first book, and that was second. I have a couple others. But I have statistics in here on fatherlessness, okay? This is documented statistics of why really our country and our world is in the mess that it's in, because we have a fatherless society. And but mother is somewhat in there, but it's mainly father that's missing. And the fathers are responsible for, I believe, like mom is raising, the kids up until about the age of 12 or 13, which is in here too. And at that point, the dad begins to steer them into their destiny, into what God created to do. That's what happened with Jesus. About 12 years old, he's in the temple, and he's like, don't you know it's supposed to be about my Father's business? I got to get with my dad. Mom, thank you, but it's time to go with my dad. Mm-hmm. And so, but we've missed that point. And so if you don't have dad in the picture, then you're lost. I mean, I know people have been Christians 20, 25, 30 years, and they're like, I just don't know what God wants for my life. I'm like, come on, let's figure, when do we have completed the Great Commission? So that actually is in here. But I think really, this is one of the things I suggest is, I'm not trying to sell books, okay? I'm not trying to sell books at all. But this book right here, I've had so many people tell me, you're mothering me through this book. You are fathering me. We're not talking about gender, okay? You're fathering me through this book. And I've had whole churches buy this book, and the whole church go through it. Because it's so easy to go through, and the stories, it's just not my story, but the stories in there, the teachings that are in there, they're only like 2 or 3 pages each day. And people just keep going through it and going, okay. So I think getting the revelation, there's an impartation that goes with that. I believe that's part of this book, but that revelation that will lead to transformation, all right? In my life, I'm not looking to be touched and changed. And that's what happened to me. I was literally transformed in October 2003 in Toronto. To me, a touch or a change is like taking a paper clip and sticking it in an outlet here, okay? And go, whoop, that was a little painful there. But you know what? To be transformed, I'd have to go out and find a pole with a utility pole, a transformer out on it. I climbed to the top if I could do that. 4 years later, I could probably do that now, and that's another story. But I climbed that pole and wrapped my arms around that transformer. Do you think I'm gonna be transformed? I love preaching this in like Pakistan or Cuba or Venezuela, because I'll have dark skin, I'll have dark hair. I mean, I will be fried, And you won't walk the same anymore, talk the same anymore, think the same anymore. Nothing is the same anymore, because you've been transformed. In my world, that transformer is God's love. And it'll transform you. And that's what happened that day, October 2003, on that floor in Toronto. I didn't get just a touch or a change. Everybody's like, oh, God, just touch me, change me. And if you really want him to do it, you go, oh, God, transform me, because I can't live with myself anymore. And that's really the bottom line. So that part. And then secondly is like, Jesus, come in and show me. how to be a son or a daughter. Ask him to do that. And God, I don't know what it is to be your beloved son or your beloved daughter. And start looking up scriptures on that, on sonship, on anything. Jesus said, I only do what the Father asked me to do. And then I'll finish with this. Before God was ever judge, ruler, creator, he was a father. I believe that's his favorite name. Father God, Abba God, Daddy God. That was his favorite name. Yes, he is judge, ruler, creator, but he's a dad. Before Jesus was ever son, savior, Messiah, Savior, Messiah, or miracle worker, he was a son. God said, this is my beloved son. He didn't say, this is my beloved Savior, Messiah, miracle worker. No, this is my beloved son who I'm well pleased with. Most believers are striving for God's love when it's already there. And I did, for many years, instead of just receiving. Are you trying to achieve something or are you just receiving it? And that is a whole different world. So you're a beloved son, you're a beloved daughter. You do not have to work for God's love. We're trying to work for his love instead of just, I don't work for God. I am not a slave. I am not a servant. I am a beloved daughter who serves. I am a beloved daughter who pastors. I'm a beloved daughter who mothers, a beloved daughter who got grandmothers. I'm a beloved daughter who's a health coach, helping transform thousands of people's lives in their health. I'm a beloved daughter that writes books. I'm a beloved daughter that preaches, travels the nations. My identity is not an evangelist or a pastor or an author or a speaker. I'm a little girl with a big dad, and from that position, I do what I'm called to do. It's a game changer. Totally 100% a game changer.
Amen. Family, we pray that today's episode has blessed you, talking about identity and going from orphans to sons and daughters. It's critical in our walk with Christ. And so we pray that today's conversation has blessed you. If it has, like this video, make sure you're subscribed to our channel, leave a comment below and let us know what really impacted you, what you heard today, and share this message. Share this message with your brothers and sisters in the church, outside of the church, everywhere. We all need to know that we are loved by a big dad. Remember, guys, it starts with one, and it starts with you. God bless you.